not back yet.
Are we in?
Welcome back to the We Rise podcast, live and direct right here in North Providence, Rhode Island. With your special team of hosts here, we have Mr. Jarrod Tillinghast himself in the flesh, the incredible one himself, the Hulk, Todd Chattel, and
Look, can I introduce you, Marvin?
I mean, can I? Only if it's nice.
And the man to the left of us, a multiple-time champion in multiple divisions.
He couldn't do it.
Listen.
Couldn't do it, Hulk.
I was gonna tall, dark, and handsome.
So that's true.
Marvelous,
That's true.
Marvin Barnes.
That's all true. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
He said
Thank you for coming out. God
he
bless.
couldn't
Good
do
night.
it. All right, that's all. See you later.
God bless. Good night.
What's going on?
Cracking,
Yeah.
gentlemen?
North Providence is on fire.
Are we
Last
talking
night.
sports real quick?
Yeah, let's talk sports quick.
So Mayweather is supposed to fight Jake Paul.
No, he's gonna fight
Logan Paul?
Logan, that's what he's.
No, then I heard it was Jake Paul.
He switched it
Yeah,
to Jake.
yeah.
Really?
Why would he fight Logan Paul? He lost his boxing.
But Logan's a tougher fight for him
Isn't Jake Paul undefeated?
too. Come on.
Yeah,
Are we even saying that right now?
Listen,
Well, let me ask you this: would Jake Paul beat you?
No,
There
absolutely
you
not.
go. So come on.
In an MMA match.
Now, even if you fought him in boxing, you think
I
he'd
heard
beat
he
you?
was a decent wrestler.
Yeah, but you think he'd beat you in boxing? I mean, boxing. match?
Probably not.
think
Probably
just
not.
think,
He doesn't
think
have
about
enough
Do you
think
know
of,
who you are? Do you know who you are?
He doesn't have
Have
enough
you looked in the mirror
experience.
lately? You know who's in
I'm a
that-
concrete finisher
You are
nowadays.
the Hulk, man.
Oh, yeah, you are the Hulk,
Are you
man.
kidding
He's
me?
got a point. I'm
Might
just
be.
saying.
That guy ain't beating me.
Yeah.
Tan green and you smash.
No, it just goes to show you today's day and age, how many people work all their lives. How about the fighters that are really, really dedicated in these New York gyms, these Philadelphia gyms, these guys that get up every morning
Yeah, I know.
and they're with the wrong connections and the wrong people. But some of the gym fighters are the toughest fighters you're ever going to run into that never even get an opportunity to be in a situation like this. You become a social media influencer and all of a sudden it's like, you get famous on social media today. You don't need a degree. You don't need anything. All you gotta do is get a million. Or you get 1 million followers, 1 million likes, and you're getting a shot with Floyd Mayweather Jr. It's crazy.
You know what they say though? If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here.
Well, I think we're all right.
That guy's gonna find out, man. He's gonna find out.
But honestly, so who are we talking about? We're talking about Logan or Jake?
Jake, I think.
Okay, so
I'm
Jake,
pretty sure.
The moment Jake fights somebody that can actually box, even though he's getting all these great endorsements by, well-known fighters.
Example Mayweather.
Well, he's getting you heard Zab Judah say he could fight. You heard a lot of guys say,
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're saying he really can fight. He can box. And I'm not saying he can't fight because anybody who can get in there and do what he does, he can fight.
Yeah, but there's levels.
Exactly. I mean,
There's
that's what
levels.
Cormier said. There's levels to this game.
Yeah.
And if he fought somebody that had real skill, like Oscar De La Hoya's coming back. I think he's only coming back because he wants a taste of it.
He wants to fight Jake.
He wants to get in the mix. Mayweather's making money doing this because Oscar, they
47, Oscar De La Hoya, right?
Oscar De La Hoya.
He's fighting again.
47,
He's 47? I
Yeah,
thought he was
47.
older than that.
Or maybe 48. I don't
He's
know
gotta
if he's
be
much.
50.
No,
No, you think so?
Really?
No.
Any fact check?
He's not.
Anybody know how old Oscar De La Hoya is?
But I'm saying that De La Hoya is coming back because he wants to get a piece of this pie.
I think De La Hoya will do well then because if he's only 47, I mean that guy's a GOAT.
48.
48.
48. Wow, I thought he was older.
Mm,
February 4th, 1973.
mm. Oscar De La Hoya, listen, there's no wear and tear on some of these guys. That's why they could still do it at that level.
One
One of
Oscar never got a real beat, and he's
Yeah,
never
there's
been
no wear and
knocked
tear. A
out.
lot of these fighters that take punches, that's why it's important to learn how to fight with your feet and use in defense. Defense wins championships, not just in football and baseball, but in every sport, everything you do, even in life.
De La Hoya doesn't have nothing to prove though. I don't understand that.
It's
really.
about money.
It's all about
I don't
money.
even know if it's money. But
Todd.
sometimes, Jarrod's always talking about coming back. I'm always talking about coming.
Yeah,
But
but
that's
when-
hard. You
yeah,
guys
yeah.
want to do it for the love
When
of
you're
the
a
game.
real, when you're a real
not-
fighter, it's hard to walk away. Like if he, he might think he still has something left to show.
But let me ask you this: if you had 100 million, allegedly,
I'll do it for a
hold
million,
on,
for 100,000 right
if
now.
you had 100 right now, but if you had 100 million,
B. I'll take answer B.
That's what guy said. You either spend a day with your wife, A, or B.
B.
But no, if you had 100 million in the bank, what would be your motivation to get up more to fight?
Nothing.
Exactly. So why do you think
No,
Floyd Mayweather and Oscar are fighting right now?
Because of course,
Floyd Mayweather?
Why do you think
Dude's rich.
it's all about no.
He's not
listen,
rich enough.
He's broke.
He's not
Listen,
rich enough.
listen.
They
What
only do it
happens?
for the
What
money.
happens with
What's
these?
broke to
Listen,
you? Because-
listen. What happens with a lot of these fighters and a lot of these rappers and all that? They get a lot of money fast, so they buy a lot of
I
stuff.
think it's going
And,
to keep happening.
well, if you don't maintain that, because you got to keep paying for that. That bills don't. You know, the
So
more
you
you
gotta-
have,
you gotta-
the more money it costs.
You get a $10 million mansion, right?
Yeah.
Just the taxes alone.
Oh, yeah,
on that
yeah.
house
Now
and
you
the
retire,
house,
you ain't making that
every
kind of
year,
money.
yeah.
you
Yeah.
gotta pay. Now you
Yeah.
got 3, 4, 5. Floyd's got 4 kids. He's gonna pay for a different.
Yeah.
So now child support because the
Yeah.
courts don't care.
On a
like,
different level of child support.
Yeah.
you're talking about 20 grand, 30 grand a month
Yeah.
for each kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which makes no
that goes
sense.
on.
And then
It happened to
you
Holyfield.
believe
It happened
you
to
should do
Vander
that?
Holy. It happened to Vander
Yeah, then
Holyfield.
your
That makes no sense
Your
to me.
security, all your cars, your taxes on the cars, your insurance on the car. He's got Maybachs. He's got this. So all
4 or
that
5
starts to add up.
mansions.
When you're
Yeah.
fighting every twice, 3 times,
It's easy to
You
maintain.
can maintain it.
Yeah.
So Floyd's fighting because he needs the money. Oscar's fighting because he needs the money. Because Golden Boy lost all their fighters.
But it's a business,
Yeah.
though. At the end of the day, if you're gonna
Oh,
fight,
yeah.
why isn't it not gonna be with the money? That's what they're in it for. The money.
But they're supposed to already made that.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
you
Like
know,
allegedly, Floyd made what $100 million to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So why?
That's
would,
what I'm
would
saying.
be
That
your
was only
motivation
that's
at
only a few years ago.
50 years old, whatever he is, to go out and train to fight somebody. He made $9 million fighting the Asian guy over in Japan.
did you see that fight?
Oh yeah.
Did you see it?
That wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
I saw it.
I
Yeah.
seen clips.
That wasn't
I
a fight. So these guys are fighting because they don't have the money to maintain.
Yeah.
Why do you think Holyfield wants to fight again? Because he love it. Like,
He's a promoter too.
who?
Holyfield.
Who's he promoting?
He used to promote Toka. Remember Toka Khan?
Yeah,
Who's
that-
He was
now?
under him
That's when he hasn't done promoting.
Yeah,
he
so that's
hasn't.
what I'm saying.
He
a couple years.
he got involved. He had a couple of shows and that he died out.
they
Yeah, I
need
think
the money.
COVID messed a lot of things up.
Yeah, COVID messed.
So
a
all
lot
these
of
guys didn't have an income. They couldn't do no autograph signing because you couldn't go nowhere.
Yeah.
So now you go a whole year with no money coming in. You're in debt. So you're like, okay, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones just made whatever they made.
Yeah.
Young fighters,
yeah.
think about this. That's why I retired.
Because you made too much money?
No, because
Yeah.
I wasn't making enough money because I knew it was a dead end street to a certain extent when I could go to work and run my own business and make
It's a tough
You
way to
know,
make a living.
It's
Fight
not
twice
easy.
as much I did a year.
But in boxing, and because of all the craftiness, we'll call it, that goes on, you got a manager, you got a promoter, you got a trainer, you know.
You got to come to a certain point though. You got to say, okay, you know, at first if you love fighting like we did when we was younger, you do it for the love of it at first. Like my first fight as a pro was like for $200. Like I was excited about $200. I was like, you gonna let me fight and give me money and I'm not gonna get in trouble and go to jail? So I was like, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
200, 300, 400, 500. Then I got up to 10,000. I was like, you couldn't pay me enough because I was done. I had nothing else to prove. I won a world title. I was #1 in New England, Boston Herald's Fighter of the Year at one point. You know, I've lost and felt all that at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I felt what the fight game takes more than it gives. Basically.
That's right. I think for me, and I'm positive for you too, knowing you, when I fought, it was never about money. It was never about that. It was about
That feeling.
It was about that one-on-one competition, that challenge, that obstacle. That it was always about that. Because if it was about the money, if you know a lot of these guys turn pro, they're brand new. They don't have no credentials. They come out of the images with a few Golden Glove titles, and they make demands like they're all about the money. And if you're about that when you're just coming out, you got the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
You know, you
go
gotta,
like the Olympics and all
unless
that.
you go to the Olympics,
Yeah.
you're already worth $1 million. That takes care of itself.
Yeah, you already did all
But
that.
if you're turning pro to get in it for the money and that's where your mind is, then you're missing it.
This is when I knew.
You gotta want to be a champion, not a
Period.
Even
Be
that,
the
but this is
best,
when this
and
is when I
all
knew
that
it was
stuff
messed up.
comes.
Yeah, all that comes.
All
That's what you
comes.
don't realize.
That's that. If you do less talking and more winning and fighting, all that's going to be there for you anyway. So if you are going to be worth that money, you'll get it yourself. You don't have to.
It's
worry
when you
about
get there like Dimitri Andrade and nothing's happening. That's when it's time to talk. That's when it's time.
That's when it's time to
push the
talk.
envelope.
That's a good
So
example.
He'd be better off saying, "Forget a world title. Let me go fight Logan Paul or Jake
Absolutely, because he
Paul
would destroy him
and cash
he would
in.
blow up off the
And
map.
cash in." But I was gonna say I knew Boston was messed up when. I knew it was messed up for a long time, but this is what really let me know that, man, Shane Mosley had one of the most stellar careers as a fighter, right?
He was one of my
He
favorites.
fought Oscar De La Hoya twice. He fought what's the tall guy that Margarito? He fought Margarito. Fought all these guys.
Did he fight Felix Trinidad too? Did he fight?
No, he didn't fight Felix. That's one of the few guys he never did fight. But Shane Mosley went to fight Floyd Mayweather.
He fought.
And
He did good.
He was getting $3 million for the fight, and Floyd said that's the most Shane Mosley's ever made in a fight by far. And I was like, wait a minute, this
Really?
dude fought De La Hoya twice.
Yeah.
Twice. You would think in a rematch he'd get
Yeah.
more money because he won the first one, and the $3 million payday is the biggest pay. And I was like, yeah, something's wrong with this thing.
Yeah. It's true.
So let's take a break. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna have a very, very, very special guest tonight. I'm not gonna tell you who it is. We're gonna surprise you. So we'll be back in a blink of an eye. And with a black sheep behind me,
We're back.
we rise in the building. Ladies and gentlemen,
We're back.
without
He's black and he's
further-
bad.
Without further delay, the We Rise podcast would like to proudly present to you probably the most renowned guest we've ever had on the show. One of the baddest men on the planet.
Oh my God.
Don't make him angry. You won't want to see
You
him
don't
when
want
he's
that.
angry.
You do not want that.
But you-
Trust me. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Todd,
Yeah, they're gonna get me.
the
today.
Hulk.
The Hulk.
Should tell.
They're gonna get me
In the
today.
building. What's up, Hulk?
What's up, man? What's up, man? Hey,
Cracking, brother. Listen, why do we go? We don't have to go nowhere. We got enough right here
yeah,
to last for 2 or 3 shows.
yeah, exactly. Why do they call you the Hulk? Where'd you get that? I mean,
Actually,
besides when you
know
got
when
mad.
so when I was a kid, it actually, I used to always feel like it's kind of crazy, but I always used to be like, if people just leave me alone, I'm good, this and that. But I feel like when I was a little kid, I thought I could really like mess some people up as a little kid, but I never wanted to as long as you left me alone. So I got older, and then my cousin was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this tattoo, this and that." He was telling me about it. We get the Hulk with a Jets jersey, and I was like, "That's a cool idea. I'm gonna get the Hulk with a Raiders jersey." And then I just went and got the Hulk instead. And then I started training MMA right after that, and everybody started calling me the Hulk.
That's awesome. I literally was the Incredible Hulk from every Halloween I can remember until I was like 12.
He's a bad dude. Just leave him alone, man.
Just don't make
He's a
him
good
angry.
guy. He's smart. He's intelligent. He's good.
Right.
Leave
So
the guy
now,
alone.
Jarrod, what was it? Your fighting nickname? What was it, Canvasback or something like that?
Oh my Shots fired.
Oh, that was from earlier.
That came
With
from
the
left
record.
field.
No, that was from earlier with the record. He tried to slip that in earlier. With the boxing record. Come on.
I gave you a good record. I said you were.
Body shot underneath the
I
table.
said you were number one rated in multiple divisions.
Number one rated in multiple
See, little sneaky shot.
Champion in multiple weight classes. I said.
But I want to listen. I want to get into Todd Should Tell because you got an amazing story, right? And you've come full circle. You've come through so much to be, this package that you are today, and the way you think, the way you move, and from what you've been through. That's hard. We had a lot of guests on over the last 4 weeks that we'll talk about later that presented a lot of different stories that were like, wow, that's just inspirational, motivational. But to hear your story, and there's still more layers that, because I get more every time I talk to you, and it's like, man, like you've come through a lot. So let's talk about.
I think everybody, man.
Growing up, Chattel. Let's talk about that real quick. You have a lot of brothers, right?
Yeah, I got 6 brothers and 1 sister.
So that's
I grew up with
tough
4
right
of them.
there.
4 of them in the same household.
Wow.
My 4 of them, same mom and dad with 2 of my brothers, and then my father has a couple children. My mother has 2 children. I mean, we're all brothers. We don't say that. We don't do that half brother stuff. You know what I mean? Half sister.
Now, was your dad a big guy?
He was about 6 feet tall.
I mean, like rugged.
Yeah, he. From what I heard about him, he was a tough dude. Like,
did you ever think about like where it came from? Like,
that when I was young, so my first memories, I'll go back there. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, let's go.
So my first memories, is I lived in a foster home. Mommy Joanne and Daddy Cliff. That was my mother and father.
Wow.
And then my mom would come. I've only told a couple people this.
So just tell me and Jarrod.
And
Don't tell
this is a disclaimer. My mother loves me.
Yeah,
I know she loves me. She always. I could feel my mom's love my whole life, whether the right or wrong things happened or whatever.
Amen.
I could feel my mom's love. But my first memories is in a foster home with Mommy Joanne and Daddy Cliff, who I thought was my mother and father. And
how long that? From what age?
I can't even really remember. I just know that's like my first memories because I could remember being in the house. Then I remember my mom would come. A lady would come, and I would call her mom, and I knew this lady was important. You know what I'm saying? And then one day she came and picked us up and left, and we stayed with her from there on. I guess a few things happened, and she had to do whatever to get us back or whatever. Yeah. So those are really my first memories. So remember the Seavers?
The Seavers.
It's what was that show with the Seavers? Is it Growing Pains? I think it's Growing Pains. The mother and the father, and it had a boy. But Mommy Joanne and Daddy Cliff reminded me. So I would watch the show Seavers growing up, and I would always think of them. They were just like great people. Like
you ever see them anymore?
So they came back around like I don't know 5-6 years ago. We found them through Facebook, and we still I still call them Mommy Joanne and Daddy Cliff.
Ever been in any of your fights?
They came to they came to So actually, it was longer than that ago. So maybe 10 more ago. Always stayed in touch with my grandmother and my family. My mom loves them too and respects them because of taking us in and all that.
Right. I wanted to touch on what you're talking about with Mommy Joanne. And
Yeah.
so at that point in your life, because when we're young, we don't understand our emotions, whatever we're going through at the time. We don't understand it. We don't know how
A
to.
lot of things.
We don't understand it. We don't know how to process it. So we may act out in a different way, or we might hold it in and act out later on in life on something like that. But at that moment,
So I
those
could
two
tell you.
people are probably played an influential part in your life, and they were crucial at that time.
So I think that's when my abandonment issue started, because going back with my mother, or even maybe just leaving my mom in the first place. So now we're living back with my mom. My mom wants to go out to wherever, the club, this, that, whatever. I used to actually like claw my face and bite myself and like punch the wall. And like whenever my mom was leaving, I would act out in a sense in that way. And I can remember like just feeling like, she was going to leave and never come back maybe again, or leaving me behind. I just felt like I was always left behind. You know what I mean?
So a lot of times, no matter what we feeling and no matter how we're expressing our feelings to them at that time, sometimes, they're blinded by their own way, and they do leave. And they do go on and
they live in their life, and they didn't,
yeah.
Because I know my mom has been through a lot. My father was pretty abusive, and back then with all kinds of things going on. I don't really know. I wasn't living the story, but I know he was in the streets. I'm only
talking through experience.
Yeah, he was in the streets, hustling, selling drugs, robberies. He actually went to prison for hitting somebody and killing them. But he was charged with assault, and then later on they changed the law after him because the man ended up dying like a while later. So they changed the law, so if somebody dies because of the assault, you could be recharged. Back then, you couldn't be recharged.
Wow.
So tell me, like coming up, did you get into like a lot of fights coming up? You know what I mean? Like
it started in my bedroom.
Your brothers.
We took the pizza boxes and we made WWF wrestling belts. And obviously Jay beat us off. But we used to be like off the top bunk, off the bureau. My mom would come in the room, get off the bureau. 10 seconds later, come back in the room, get off the bureau, because we're jumping off the bureau as the top bunk on the top rope.
Oh yeah. Those must have been some wild.
Oh yeah, so that's where the fighting started. I mean, I was never really I never really wanted to have problems with people, but I was growing up. We were poor, so I was the stinky kid, the quiet kid. It wasn't like I remember I had a girlfriend in like 4th grade, and she was the prettiest girl, a little Spanish girl. It was the prettiest girl in the school, and she broke up with me because I smelled. I was heartbroken, man, but it is what it is. You live and learn. And then we got older, and I think like we went from Central Falls to Cumberland. When we moved to Cumberland, my mom had a boyfriend, and he was like, "Oh, when you go to Cumberland, these kids are tough over there. You can't mess around. They're not like CF kids, this and that."
Cumberland,
right? We're coming from CF, fighting with the kids down on this block, fighting with the kids. So we go to Cumberland, and it's a joke. Me and my brother Ryan just start wrecking everybody in school.
Yeah, of course.
These kids don't even know. It's like, we're getting kicked. I get kicked out of school. I went to 5 different high schools. I mean, it's you think about it now, it's crazy. So then we were talking earlier, we were living on Broad Street in Cumberland, and we were evicted, and I was about 15 at the time, and we had nowhere to go, and there was this other kid that was living with us, and we're staying here house to house, staying at my brother Jay's house, 2-bedroom apartment with like all of us. So I was just like a mess at that point, nothing. We just didn't have nothing. So me and the other kid made a plan to go buy a gun off somebody. We bought a gun. Then we had this big elaborate plan to go rob a convenience store he used to work at, because he knew where the safe was and whatever. And so we steal a car, we drive to the place, it's closed. This kid had this big plan. I'm 15, he's like 19. I think he's so smart and this and that. Mind you, I'm holding the gun. He bought the gun. I'm holding the gun.
Of course, he is smart then.
Yeah, because I'm
He was
15.
smart,
Because I'm
yeah.
15 and he's over 18.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
So
So we ended up driving around. We didn't know. I was like, I need some money. I need to do something, or whatever. And so we ended up parking the car and trying to pop the trunk off Newport Ave. And then we're walking down the street. Whoop! Cops surrounded us. Somebody seen us messing with the trunk. I had the gun in my pocket. So we go downtown, and now the kid's like, Todd did this. Todd stole the car. It's Todd's gun, this and that. And then I'm in there. I'm bugging. And all I could think about the whole time, my mom was coming. My mom ended up showing up. My brother Jay's like, Todd, don't say nothing. Todd, don't say nothing. I don't, you know, the street code, whatever. And so my mom's like, Todd, just tell him what you did. Or tell him, you know, just say what you have to say and this and that. And all I could think in the back of my mind was my aunt. She raised me. A lot of the times I would go stay with her in the summer and school season. And this woman was really like everything to me as far as like a role model. And I just knew that she was going to find out about it, and I was going to be, and that would crush her. I knew it would crush her. So I just told the cops basically what I did, you know, everything like that, and wrote a statement on myself. And they let me go home. So now I'm on the bracelet. I'm homeless, but we're staying like house to house. They before, I mean, not the bracelet. They didn't give you a bracelet back then. They just gave you home confinement. There was no bracelet.
So it was you, your mom, and your brothers?
So now I'm living from place to place. I end up staying at this house. The girl there was a crackhead. The other guy was a crackhead. I'm living there. My mom had nowhere to go. She ends up staying there. This house was just a mess. It was a potty house. Across the street was like another potty. It was just crazy. So now I start selling weed because I have no food. I have no money. I have nothing. I'm selling weed. I go to like sell. Back then it was like so bad to sell weed. Everybody like has weed now, but I go to sell like a quarter pound to somebody. I get pulled over. I get in trouble for that.
Wow.
While I'm on the bracelet.
Wow.
They let me out.
How old?
I mean, while I'm on home confinement.
But you had the bracelet on.
I'm 15 at the time, turning 16.
And you had the bracelet on.
No bracelet. They didn't have no. I keep saying the bracelet, but I mean home confinement.
Okay. But
So now
confinement is the bracelet, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they didn't have a bracelet back then.
Oh wow.
There was no digital stuff.
So they would call, and you'd have to be.
They'd have to call,
or maybe they would come by.
And my mom would, you know, or they.
But you would have to.
They never really checked on me, so now I'm on like bail basically. I go to court. Boom, 1 year. See you later. Go to training school.
Wow.
Worst experience in my life. There's no love.
Is that where you met Ron?
Where I met Ron?
Yeah.
Training school. Yeah. I don't know what he was in there for, but
We'll ask him later.
How long did you spend? How long did you spend in training school?
So they gave me a year in training school, and it was probably the most lonely, like the worst place a child could ever go.
But here's the irony
horrible.
of all that, right? You go from being homeless to have some place to stay.
So that's what I was about to say. The crazy part is though, I'm eating 3 meals a day. I have somewhere to lay my head. I'm fighting left and right though, because it's weird in there. It's like reverse racism, they call it. Or I don't know what they call it, but it's like I grew up. My grandfather's Cape Verdean, he's dark skinned. You know what I mean? I grew up in Central Falls, all Latins and blacks and whites, all mixed up. You know, my family's mixed up. So I'm in there, and they're looking at me. I didn't even really know racism until I went in there, but it wasn't like racist against black and Spanish. They were racist against white.
Racist, though.
So they thought like because you're white, you can't fight.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, this white boy, this and that. So I fought all kinds of kids, and then I got cool with a staff. Brooksy Bent, and he started teaching me how to, Brooksy.
Of course.
So I don't think I'm pretty sure Brooksy was partial towards white people too. But I took to boxing, so I would always try to. I knew he was a boxer, so I always wanted to be that. He taught me how to jump rope, and he taught me how to hold my hands. But he taught me southpaw. That's the first way I learned how to box because he was southpaw. And then I met Chuck Sullivan. He started teaching me. So now I'm boxing in there. I got this kid Rennie Gorman. He's like, Todd, let's box. This dude's like 6'4". He's in there for murder. He's already like 18 years old because you could be there till you're 21.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death, but I'm like,
yeah, you're still ready.
Put him to sleep right on the blue couches. Hey, now I'm tough for a white boy.
That's what you gotta do. You know, I went to Perry. I had to fight everybody in the building, but I would meet them in the behind the school after, and I fought everybody at Perry, and I beat everybody up, and before you know it, nobody bothered me. But I did. I had to go through it.
So fast forward, I'm in the training school now. I'm walking around the grounds, making phone calls, staff's getting me pizza. I'm the man. Everybody in there knows me. Yeah, they get me. I got Chuck Taylors. Hey, I'm rich in there.
Yeah.
I'm cleaning the school. I'm buffing the floor. I learning how to paint, buff floors, like do all kinds of stuff. So now I'm supposed to get out, and they're supposed to give me a voucher for some money, right? So I go to get out. They don't give me the voucher. They give it to this other kid. So I get out. I didn't even remember. I got out. We had nothing. I moved back with my mom. She's living off Broadway in Pawtucket.
They didn't give you the voucher.
It was going to go to one kid or another. It ended up going to that kid.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was doing nonviolence programs. I met Martin Luther King Jr.'s sister and everything. Like, and that's where I started walking. I met Jesus, and I met, like, I used to go to Muslim classes, Christian classes, Jewish classes, AA, NA, because I didn't understand like the alcoholism and the narcotics. Like, why didn't my family drink? Why did they do drugs and all that? So I started going to all these classes just to learn these things. You know what I mean? And so
I always found that intriguing, like to try other cultures, like religion or church, and not try it.
Well, I didn't know if there was a God.
Yeah, everybody has their own. It's crazy.
Yeah, I wanted to make sense of that.
Yeah,
that's the best thing you can do if you're a non-believer. Search into it. Seek God. Seek out God, and you'll find. Seeking, you shall find. Knocking, the door will be opened. Because I started doing that, and so there was a Christian guy who used to come in and teach Christianity. Then there was a Catholic lady. The most Christian person I ever met, this Catholic lady, used to come in and speak so soft, show love, talk about God. That was the closest. That's why I was like, whoever her God is must be God. The Muslim guys just come in, little cocky. I'm like, how you get to heaven? I used to argue with him. How you get to heaven? He's like, you gotta do good things. And I'm like, you gotta do good things? That's easy. And he's like, yeah, but you gotta outdo all the bad things you did. I said, you gotta outdo all the bad things you did? How can I remember all the bad things I did?
Yeah, now it's a little tricky.
I'm in training school, and I used to bang people out, do all this crazy stealth drugs.
So, at some point in your life, you start running hard in the streets, right?
Yeah. So this is what happens. I get out of training school, and now it's like, I get out at 3 hots in a car. Everybody knows me. I make phone calls. My friend Fran used to write me every day. I had a couple girls I would be able to call. They would write me. So it was like I was just living. But I would go outside at my job. One of my jobs was to throw the trash out, and there was no fence up here. So I would try to look where the fence was here, and I'd look up so I could see no fence. And I was like, to be free. But as soon as I get free, my mom's drinking a lot. I'm living in her house. It's just back to no clothes, no job, no money, like just bummy people coming in and out of the house. And it was just like, I actually went down the street, sat down on the curb, and I started crying, man. I couldn't, I was like, I'm going, then in my mind, I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm going to rob something. I do something. I go back to the training school. Right away. I was doing way better in there.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Yeah.
My friend, thank God, my friend pulls up. Todd, what are you doing? You all right? My friend just got out of training school with me like a year before that. He was in there. He gets out. Todd, you all right? Get in, man. Let's talk. Blah, blah. He's like, I was feeling the same way, this and that. You got to do this. You got to do that. For me, I'm 17 years old. I didn't even think I could go back to high school. I used to go walk down the street. All my friends were getting out of high school. I used to hang out there waiting for them to get out. Not even knowing I could go in and finish school. I didn't think that was even an option for me. So then my brother's hustling. Everybody's hustling. A good friend of mine who became my brother, Al Robinson, came to move in with us. And if anybody knows him back in the day, like he wasn't somebody you played with, you know what I mean? For me, he was my brother and he was just goofy and funny. But he came to move in with us, and he kind of taught me to be like, don't let nobody take advantage of you. Don't let nobody mess with you. Do what you got to do. He used to tell me not to hustle though, because he was like, Ty, you're not good at that. You get caught at that. But I'd be like, nah, I'm smart enough. I could do this, like off my own strength. So then we started going hard. Like we was hustling. We was, and the whole time I ended up getting a job doing concrete. So now I'm working, I'm hustling. We're wilding. We're going to the nightclubs every single week. And for me, it was weird. I wasn't going there to get girls. I was going there because I knew one of my friends was going to start a fight, and I was going to fight. You know what I mean? So, and it was kind of unfair because I'm in the training school. I get out, I'm diesel, I'm boxing. Like, these guys don't know. Most people don't know how to fight, so I'm like, shh, all quiet, beak. Like, just, it's funny, but it's
crazy
not.
how I never met you.
Yeah. Jarrod was doing that at the club down the street.
Yeah, like we were just missing each other all our
Yeah,
life.
so it was getting crazy. We had a gun on us everywhere we went. It just started getting crazier and crazier. And then I ended up seeing the kid that, you know, was like, Todd did this, Todd did that. He started telling people that I'm a rat, this and that. I said, Scott, what's up? I jumped out the car. I hit him. He stabbed me. I knocked him out. I went to the hospital. I was 5 minutes away from dying.
How'd you get to the hospital?
So I hit him. I go running to the car. It was my brother and his friend. My brother jumps out and starts chasing him because I lifted up my shirt and blood went all over my brother. So he starts chasing. I'm like, Ryan, no. So he jumps in the car. We get in the car. I'm like, just go to the hospital. We go to this walk-in clinic. It's closed. He's banging on the door. I'm like, oh man, I'm dead. It's not open. So he runs back in the car, and then now he's driving to the hospital, and the guy driving's all nervous. And so my brother's like bugging out on him. Now he's running red lights, he's flying, going around traffic. So now Memorial Hospital's on a one-way. He's flying up the one-way. Cars coming at us. I thought we were dead before we get there. So now we ended up at Memorial Hospital. I couldn't even talk, walk, nothing. They had to pull me up out of the wheelchair, put me in the hospital, and just stop going.
Now, what does that do for somebody psychologically? Like, does it change you at that moment, or because that's the closest thing?
Oh yeah,
death.
I thought I was dead.
You know what I mean?
I thought I was dead.
Like,
I asked the doctor if I was going to die, and he said, "Oh, we're going to do the best we can." I was like, oh, "I'm dead."
Because you can't come back from that. You can come back from almost.
Honestly, back then, I didn't even see the point to life. Like, I was so, like, I remember like thinking like maybe children are the point to life, like having children and this and that. So I kind of back then I would have probably just had children just to have a reason to live, but I had no reason to live.
So after you got stabbed, did your mindset change, or did it?
It kind of slowed me down for a second, but I think it got worse after that because when I got stabbed, we were okay, but then we ended up losing an apartment because I couldn't work, I couldn't hustle, and then my brother Jay ended up going to prison, so now I had to go live with my aunt.
How old were you?
I was 18 when I got stabbed.
Yeah,
You're
still in at 18.
Yeah.
No,
so then I wake up, I see Biggie Smalls got shot and killed, and I'm like, wow, Biggie. That's what hit me. I was like, why would Biggie Smalls die? That dude's rich and he's famous and this and that, and I lived, and I'm like, that's crazy. That was something I was thinking about for a while.
Well, after I know after I went on my tear for those many years, I got stabbed later on when like as I was a little
Towards
older.
the end.
You know, I wasn't tapering down, but I was kind of staying like, doing my thing. And when I got stabbed, I had turned my head this way, and he got plunged in here. And I just remember if I didn't turn my head and say something, it would have went in my eye, and I probably would have had to. I don't know if he stabbed me in my eye. I'm not dying alone, so he was probably gonna. And at that point in my life, I probably would have took him with me. But
I got worse.
I
don't know what's wrong with me.
Yeah, well, I later on it hit me, and that was like it came so close to so many things, and it was like deep in my head. So I was just after that. That was the end of it.
So fast forward when I started thinking like that. So fast forward, I have a daughter. Now I'm like, wow, I got a reason to live. Let me do good. Let me do that. But now I'm like, damn, my daughter's not growing up like me. Yeah. She's not being poor. Boom, I'm selling weed. I'm selling drugs. I'm doing whatever I do. I'm working. So now I start hanging with this crowd. And some of these dudes were like serious dudes.
Yeah.
So I'm out there in the streets. I'm selling guns. I'm selling drugs. I'm doing all of this stuff. And now I'm out, that same life. You're out, you're clubbing, you're drinking, you're doing whatever. I end up getting shot downtown Providence
Of course.
because it was like some dude, and I was like, I don't
Where'd you
really
get
care.
shot?
I got shot in my hip and my hand. And so after I got shot, I was sitting in the hospital. It got worse after that because then I got my face caved in. But I was sitting in the hospital and I was like, if this dude was like, instead of being like this, literally like this, that would have been my face. Like I'm talking about millimeters. And then I'm like, again, like, why am I alive? Why is this? This is crazy. I'm probably 22, 23 years old. And then
Still not out.
and then I
at that
finally
age.
now, doing a weekend, getting caught with this, getting caught with that, fighting a weekend, a week, 2 weeks. Now I do 6 months in prison. I go to prison. I read the Bible. I'm like, wow, God is real. I start making like real decisions. I'm like, I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna take care of my kids. I was at that point. I had a daughter. I'm like, I'm gonna do the right thing. My son was just born, so I go in, get out, tell my girl, let's do the right thing, this and that. She's like, I wanna go out tonight, and I'm like, shh. I want to do the right thing. I want to take care of my kids. I want to raise a family. I want to work, buy a house. So I'm like, instead of nah, I'll just stay in with the kids. Go out, have fun. I'm gonna go out too. Let me get a babysitter.
Now, was that when you just got home?
This is when I got home.
So you just came home.
I just
from
came home.
prison.
Yeah.
You're home already. She's
Yeah.
already out doing her thing.
Yeah.
And she's already in the swing of things where
Yeah.
you were before you went there.
Exactly.
And now you come home, you're like, I want to be
Do
good.
the right
She's like,
thing.
well,
Nah,
you can stay home. I'll be back.
Yeah, good for you. so
we
so
can't
now-
expect them to
So
like,
I go out and I'm in South Providence with my brothers. My brother gets to a fight. I go in the street. I start knocking people out. They're like, no, this white boy ain't beating us all up. Boom, I get hit in the face with a tire iron. Ripped half my face off. Made me blind in one eye.
Mm.
You heard that right. For all you fighters that I beat. With
Is
one
that
eye.
why you're a sucker for a left hook?
Yeah. I didn't tell you what eye it was.
I said your left eye. I said, is that why you're a sucker for a left hook?
Hey, so now I hate everybody.
Before we go there, because I want to get into the meat and the nooks
Yeah,
and
yeah,
crannies of
yeah.
that and your fight career. But we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back because I think we gotta dive right back in when we get back. So
All
we'll
right.
be back in like a minute or so.
I gotta put my
The
shades on.
Hulk
almost
in the
there.
building.
This is,
Welcome back, Jack.
with the denouement.
Denouement.
In English, that means the decline to the ending.
Oh, so we're back. Well, we're just starting out. So we're back with the Hulk over here. Hulk, talk to us about your fight career and how you got into the whole MMA scene.
So the whole time I'm doing all this crazy nonsense. I don't even know how I had this energy, but when I was younger, I just had crazy energy. So I'm hustling this, that. The whole time I'm going. I started going to BNF boxing like after training school. A couple years later, I started going to BNF boxing,
Seven-
and with Bert, Coach Bert,
Yeah.
Coach Bert, his son Berto brought me there. Berto has a kid with my sister, so I was close with Berto. Berto took care of me. He watched me struggle. That man
Good
used
people.
to
the next.
Berto used to
Yeah.
feed me, like cook for me, feed me. He watched me.
Yeah.
He knows some of the struggle,
Good people.
and he took care of me. So he brought me to his father because I always wanted to be a boxer. And they called me old man. I was like 20 years old. He's like, "You're too old for boxing." I'm like, I used to really think that. So now the boxing gym gets closed down. We end up in Berto's son, Manny Neves, who this man became like a father figure to me, like was everything to me.
That what gym was in Pawtucket, right?
Pawtucket, yeah.
So you guys like Manfredo's was right up the street.
Yeah.
So I was at Manfredo's and you were over
Oh
there.
yeah, that's crazy.
Like we were
That's
literally.
true. I didn't even think about
I was on Conant Street at
Yeah.
Manfredo's.
Yeah.
And you were training at that gym, and we still
Smithfield
never,
Ave.
and we still never met.
I know.
In the fight game at the same time, that was crazy.
So now, and you used to come sometimes when he moved down the street to spa and everything.
Manny asked me,
And
to
I'd
spar.
miss you.
Who did Manny ask me to spar with? Who's
with
that?
Benjo. Benjo was a beast. Benjo was junior Olympic champion. He fought Jason Estrada and the amateurs did well with him.
Well, I came in out of shape.
Yeah.
Manny's like, come down and
Manny
get
was-
some work. I'm
Manny
out
was cracking
smoking
on
blunts.
Benjo.
Man.
God rest his soul. Benjo passed away.
Yeah, but I came
Got
in.
murdered.
He was a heavyweight. I was like 165 at the time, but
Benjo was no joke.
I put it on him though.
Yeah, Manny was telling me.
Yeah.
So I start training MMA, and I'm like, wow, boxing's only one aspect of the game. And so Manny was kind of all, one of the originators for MMA, but he wasn't really like specific jiu-jitsu specific anything. He did kickboxing mostly, but he started learning some jiu-jitsu and wrestling type stuff. But there was like Percy Smith and Alex Smith and Nap, Napoleon Andrade, who was in there with us, Francisco, who became like a black belt years later. Like we had some good fighters. Mike Campbell came out of there.
Mike's a good fighter, too.
Yeah, Mike's a beast. Mike the Beast Campbell.
He is a beast.
So we had him in there. I mean, we had these guys that just came out here that were killers, and so Manny. So before I went to prison the last time, Manny's like, Todd, you want to do a grappling tournament? I was doing MMA for like 6 months. I was like, yeah. I was like scared to death. Yeah, I'll do it. Anything that scares me, I go right at it.
Yeah,
It's
because
crazy.
that challenge.
Yeah.
I
So I'm like, yeah. So we go, and I end up taking first place in Naga in 2000. I think it was 2002.
Beast.
First place in Naga, which is the largest grappling tournament in friggin' America right now.
That's why you're the Hulk.
No, but it was. This is like it was like crazy. So
My bodyguard.
I ended up doing
Yeah,
that.
say it now, Marvin.
And then Manny's like, Todd, you want to fight? A few months later. So I got like 8 months out there. You want to fight? And back then there was no amateurs, just fight. You just go, you weigh in, same day, fight.
Was it
So I was like, yeah.
boxing?
No, MMA.
Mm.
So I show up to, it's a nightclub. It's like everybody's smashed drunk. You got a cage in the middle, thing all compact.
Wow.
And my guy weighs in the next day. He doesn't show up.
So you won your first fight.
No, yeah. So I won. He gave me a sword and everything. I had a sword. Kip Cola. It was
It's
for,
like Marvin's record.
it was
See,
mass
there's
destruction.
that body shot under
That's
the
like
table
Marvin's
again.
record.
So then shortly after that, I'm hustling. I told you I got my eye caved in. All this crazy stuff happened, and I just hated the world at that moment. And so I went to prison. I ended up getting caught with an ounce of cocaine. A friend of mine set me up. So I ended up going to prison, and now I'm in prison, and I'm going to church, and I'm going to I'm doing the same thing I did in training school. I'm starting to learn again, starting to see again, and I'm getting reminded. And so I'm like, when I get out, I want to make this move. I want to make that move. Mind you, I just got sentenced to 1.5 years in prison, and I'm not getting out anytime soon.
And you're already scheming for your moves that you're
So
gonna
this
make.
guy, yeah,
But
it was crazy.
You're already thinking about 1.5 years
I'm gonna make
when
this
I get
move.
out. I'm gonna do
put-
this. I'm gonna
My
do
daughter's gonna get this. My son's gonna get that. I'm never gonna leave him.
mindset.
I'm never gonna leave him again. Like, so now I'm doing this time, and I go to talk to this Christian brother. He like just brings me in to talk to me about people that have been shot and stabbed. Like I had it all. Like, did you drink at these times? I was like, and then I didn't even realize I used to drink a lot. I used to go out every weekend on Friday, grab beers, and go get drunk with my friends. And he was like, "Did you drink this weekend? Did you drink that weekend? Did you drink that?" And it was like every weekend. You know what I mean?
So now when you started like really training, you didn't do that.
So now this is before. So fast forward, I get all that. So now I'm sitting in this room and this man tells me, and then we're talking about God, and I'm like, and I know God's real, and I'm just like, I'm over here making these plans. What am I doing? My kids are out there. Like, I'm just going. That's a story in itself. So, bid, prison, I get out, my mind's set. I'm done. I'm focused. I'm reading the Bible. I'm home. I get home. I'm telling these dudes that I'm going to, Mike Campbell could attest to this. I'm telling them I'm going to do my laundry. I'm going to train for an MMA fight. Mind you, I'm blind in one eye. I never thought I would fight ever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going for an MMA fight. I'm checking kicks. Mike's kicking my bracelet. I'm wearing jogging pants so no one sees it. I'm over there training when I'm supposed. I go to gym. I did everything I was supposed to do on point. Not like work. That's it. Gym. That's it. Then the struggle goes on from there. But then it's like, Manny Nez, hey Todd, you want to fight? I'm home now. You're training now. You're doing the right thing. I say, yeah, I do. I have my brother Ryan. Here's my license. Go take an eye test for me. So I had to do that for 10 years for 24 professional fights.
Wow.
What was your final record?
It was 12-12 because towards the end I started catching some losses from injuries and bad things that were
I
happening.
want to see. So if you're a fighter and you have a glass eye and you have a brother that looks like you can still go.
If there's a will, there's a way. Because I remember
there's a guy who been a world champion and you take your eye out and soak it.
I don't got a fake eye. I'm just legally blind.
So is it true that you were one of the first MMA champions?
I was the first MMA champion. Rhode Island MMA was illegal. It was much like New York for years, but MMA was illegal. Then Jimmy Birchfield had a show, but Manny Neves had a show in Mass at the same time. And Manny's my coach, my guy. Right. Like, I started training with other people. That's why I started getting better. But Manny Neves was my guy. So he was promoting, Jimmy was promoting. So I went with Manny first. And Manny promoted over here in the convention center. I fought Derek Brunson, who we had on the show.
Wow.
And so I'm homeless. I just broke up with a girl. I'm homeless, living in a factory, living on an air mattress, eating oatmeal cookies, not really able to train and do privates and eat right. Yeah, and so I fight Derek Brunson of all people who I was going to fight, probably the most acclaimed fighter that I fought out of everybody. Wow. And he catches me with an overhand left. Didn't even know he was a southpaw because I was supposed to fight somebody. He got switched out a week before. And so I was fighting because I had no money. I had nothing. And it was $500
pro debut
to fight, $500 to win.
Pro debut?
No. I was 5 or 6 fights. What was I? No, I was a few fights in. I was going good for a while, but then problems with a woman and not thinking right and not living right, had me, doing something
hold on. What you say is crucial. Any fighter that has baggage,
you're never gonna make it.
Listen, you need to take care of your emotional baggage. You need to really take care of that inner stuff, because this game is too punishing for you to have anything. This isn't a game for that. You really gotta put your focus in, and when there's when you allow outside obstacles to affect your emotions, you're not the same in here. Period.
So now, fast forward, I fight, I lose. So now I meet Jimmy Birchfield with Vladine. I go to a fight. I meet Jimmy. I meet Pat Sullivan. He's the man.
Hey,
I love Pat Sullivan. That's my guy.
Good guy.
So I meet Pat Sullivan, and Pat gets me on the next card. They put me against Woody Weatherby, number 4 in New England, just came off the Ultimate Fighter, one of the baddest dudes in New England. I said, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to build this dude up, and they're trying to play me. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to train twice a day, 6 days a week, and I'm going to see if it works. I'm going to see if the story works. Hey, I went out there. I was like a freight train. That dude would have never stopped me.
Exactly.
Beat the next guy. World title shot right there.
Boom. The fight's won in the gym. On how you prepare for
I had my mind right. I was doing everything right. I was eating right. I wouldn't drink for 6 weeks. If I had a fight coming, I wouldn't drink for 6 to 8 weeks.
Whatever
I ate
it takes.
I did everything I was supposed to. Then it was Woody. Weatherby.
I love
Then they
that.
gave me Jeff Nader. Jeff Nader was the champion of reality fighting. Dude is no joke. Then they gave me Elias Rivera, a New England legend who only lost to the greatest fighters. And then they give me Brett O'Terry, who just came out of Bellator, who had like 1 or 2 losses, and was a beast.
You slap them all.
So I got
Beat.
I gotta
Go to
ask-
sleep.
I gotta ask you this.
It's because it's what you do.
Tell me before we go, because I know we're wrapping it up soon. But tell me how it was the first time you met Jarrod.
I don't even remember. Do you remember the first time you
Because
met?
you guys always talk about how you didn't meet each other coming up.
But we knew who each other was.
Right, but so when you finally
And,
crossed each other's path, was it like, oh, you're
You know
Jarrod.
what?
Oh, you're
what?
Todd.
Yeah, you know what it was? Actually, it was like, this guy's all right. I don't even know why people talk about him like that. I think he's cool. He's funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's all right. He's kind of
Now,
like,
did you meet on?
he's
neutral
kind of like my
ground?
people.
Yeah, exactly. Where did we meet? Where was
I don't
the
even
first time we
remember.
met? It wasn't
And it was like we knew each other forever after
right
that.
away. Instantly, like
It was a while ago. I know it was years ago.
as soon as we
And
met.
then he helped me with a couple of my fights in it. He ended up coming like down to the gym.
What's
I used to
that?
call him here and there just to say hi and talk to him. We
Yeah,
talked for like, I don't know.
we just hit it off right
Yeah,
away.
it was
like-
weird.
it was-
So real quick, where did the idea for the podcast come? How did that,
Oh, that was crazy.
I could tell you. Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So Todd did a podcast on naked sports.
SFBN Rhode Island.
SFBN at the time, he did a podcast. He was Ron Roberts asked me if I knew any MMA fighters.
Ron, the guy you met in the joint, right?
Right,
In
yeah.
the training school.
Yeah.
In training
I
school.
remember now. I'm following the
He was
So
story.
in
Ron-
there for stealing a bag of chips.
Oh, shit,
Ron,
that guy's no joke.
Ron's network does a MMA show, and he asked me if I knew any MMA fighters. And at that time, me and Todd have grown to like be talking on a normal, we see each other. It was all love. We actually went out a few times, and I said, yeah, I actually have the first New England middleweight champion. And Todd came on the show, and
Rhode Island.
and Todd came on the show, and Ron loved him, and Ron said, you and Todd should do a podcast. And I'm like,
And I was thinking,
yeah, that's a good idea.
Like a week before,
So-
I was thinking I was like, I should get into like maybe
Oh, in the
podcasts.
parking lot on my way to the car, you and I were.
Yeah, I caught up with you,
wanted to
and I was thinking about it, and you invited me, and then I go outside and talk to him, and he's like, "No, you guys are doing it. You are
Yeah,
doing
so-
it."
so,
I'm like, "We
yeah,
are."
so-
I'm like, "All right."
It's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I
Ron,
know you're doing
No, you guys are doing it.
Well,
and I was
Ron-
like, "We are." He
Ron-
was like, "Yeah."
Ron
And I was
said,
like, "All right."
yeah, because I said, yeah, right away. Ron
Yeah.
said, you and him should do a podcast. I said, that's a good idea. Yeah, count us in. We're going to do it. I didn't even tell Hulk about it yet. But
Yeah.
I said right away.
You guys are doing it. I was like, "We are."
Yeah.
All right, we're doing
And
it.
then we started.
So
And the birth of Re-Rise.
yeah,
And the birth of We Rise. Then we had a number.
First name was Combat 101.
Yeah, Combat
Second
101.
name was Combat Complete.
Yeah. What was the third?
Fuck, we have it. I don't have to look. But there was 3 names. Combat Complete was like the name of your show
yeah,
up until literally like 4 days before.
Yeah,
the show.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
yeah.
was Combat Complete.
Yeah. Yeah. We
We went
going
through
back
like
and forth.
100 names.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
then
logos.
So
wait.
So
Go ahead. Well,
all right. So real quick, I just want to say, I just want to say thank you to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ,
Hey,
and He is the real reason that I was set free out of my turmoil, because I set my eyes on Him, not completely at first, and still we all fall short of the glory, but I set my eyes on Him, and He directed my path.
Amen.
I have my plans in my heart, but Jesus Christ directs my footsteps. And I want to say one more thing. My daughter saved my life. My children saved my life. I love you, Kaylin. I love you, TJ. I love you, Elias. And I love you, Griselle. Thank you for everything you guys do for me.
Boom, the Hulk's
let's do
why.
it the right way though, because if you're gonna bring us home, you gotta bring us home like you always do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to
No,
say
got it.
the birth of We Rise started with Hulk and I, and Marvin. He was number 1 on the draft board. So he's the number one
Top
draft,
pick.
number one top pick, top money.
Listen,
Hey,
my credentials just
Hey,
grow
your
and grow
creden-
every time. You know,
I don't even get to roll a scroll out
Listen,
to keep up with your credentials.
shorts on the wall.
It doesn't end
Number one
there.
draft pick. I mean, I
It
can go
doesn't
on for
end there.
days.
Let's not talk about your football skills and
Forget
basketball.
It. We'll
Let's,
be here all night. I can go on for
Hold it.
days.
We gotta figure out what the date of the first show is.
by the way, Bro for It All
So,
announcement
go back
coming
and
up.
check.
Yeah.
Because then we have to know when your anniversary is, so that we can
Have a big bash.
It was January. Right?
Yeah.
Was it
1-year
January?
show.
I also want to
was
do,
it?
Ron, I told you about the idea with the Federal Hill Civil Lake Reunion podcast. Yeah, we're going to do something big, and then we're going to do like,
should
you
go
can,
real smooth.
like, I think we should all, that should be,
That should go real smooth.
oh, it's going to be a
That should go
blast.
smooth.
Oh, smooth as
Oh,
pie.
yeah,
You're never going to see anything like it.
So Hulk's gonna bring us home in the traditional Hulk way. He's searching and he's looking for the right one. He wants to do a knockout blow, not just the jab. So
Yeah, but I got to go back to this, right? Because
let's do it. And why he's searching that.
so all these things we go through, and I continuously talk about this. Thanks be to God for setting my path. I know it's hard. I know everybody, from what I truly believe, I know everybody has a desire to find something in their heart, or if they don't have God, they're missing something and they're seeking something. Like I said, start with whatever, the search of God, and I know you'll find them. So for that the test of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing.
Give
Bang.
me a book and a verse.
Oh, that's
Hulk.
James 1:3.
There we go. Now we're
Alex,
complete.
James 1:3.
Alex Sandoval said we made Todd a handsome sandwich tonight.
There you go.
Ah.
They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. Rise, 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 rise. Messengers of Jesus Christ, fighting until we see his kingdom. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up. They wanna keep us low. They think that we don't know. So we gon' show them that this kingdom about to rise up.